Hey everyone, welcome back to a new video. I've upgraded my mic, I hope it sounds better now. Let me know your opinion in the comment section below. And now, let's start with the first story, shall we? The first story is called, As We Discussed. I work a night shift behind a reception desk at a hotel with a restaurant from 11 PM until 7 AM. Every morning at around 6:17, Jenny would come in and start preparing the continental breakfast for the guests. My duty would be to give her a list of all the guests she should be expecting. One evening, before storming out of the lobby rather upset, she quickly took a step back to tell me how disappointed she was that no one called her the previous night to tell her that the hotel was empty and she had no reason to come to work in the morning. I tried explaining to her that I've only been here for 2 shifts and I had no idea that it's a regular thing here, but also that the night shift starts at 11 PM, which is quite late to be making calls to the staff. I also told her that the number of people who are staying at the hotel is obviously known throughout the entire day before 11 PM, which also includes late check-ins to happen after midnight. We both agreed that it's reasonable for the previous shift to announce the list to the restaurant staff. But upon asking my colleagues about it, they all said that it is indeed what all of them do. Since then, every time I come for my shift and the hotel is empty, I always make sure to ask my colleagues if they have called the breakfast staff just to be sure. Fast forward to a few nights ago. I clock in and see that the hotel was empty the previous night, but there are more than 10 people who checked in at 9 AM today. I get a call on the stationary phone at 1 AM from, you guessed it, Jenny herself, asking if there are people for breakfast. I said, why of course, you would have been informed if there weren't, as we discussed. From that point on, all I heard was her husband arguing with her about how incompetent I was for not telling her that she should come to work as she normally would. The morning came and she walks into the lobby, furious. And as much as I disliked confrontation, I told her there's absolutely no reason for anyone to give her a call, that she should follow her regular schedule. Plus, I knew she was working in the restaurant the previous day, which should have given her more than enough opportunities to check for herself. She stormed off once again, mumbling something like, I'll make sure to let the restaurant manager know. Clocking in 3 days later, I noticed the hotel was once again empty the previous night, but full for the same day. So I picked up the phone and rang her up at 2 AM, not only waking her up, but also her husband, to let her know that she should come to work in 4 hours. All she said was, I have my schedule, you know. Also, it's 2 AM, to which I said, I'm simply doing what you asked me to. Good night. The next story is called, Thanks Joe. Applied to a full-time opening at a company, but for reasons they wanted to bring me in as a contractor for a while until a different position opened. I would be reporting to Joe in a department I didn't really care for. Well, it turns out Joe was a nice guy, but not such a great project manager. He staked his role at the company on our team delivering a certain major project on time. The problem was that a series of miscalculations meant we weren't able to even start working on it until halfway through the implementation phase. As schedules slipped and upper management expressed their disappointment, Joe became much less pleasant to be around. He yelled at good people for no reason, had a terrible attitude, and generally made life miserable for everyone in our workroom. Now, I was the sole contractor in the department, full of salaried employees. Early on, Joe would all but push me out of the door as my time card rolled over from 39.9 to 40 hours, as his budget had zero room for paying me 41 hours a week. Even worse, that would pay the same as 41.5 hours, because I was subject to time-and-a-half overtime rules. As crunch time turned into a dead march, Joe made announcements like, no one's going home until this is done, and scheduled to have breakfast and supper brought into the office every day. I asked Joe if this included me, and he said yes, of course, and he was surprised I had the nerve to ask. Okay then. It almost killed us. They were shouting in tears. We were all near breaking point. Well, most of us. I was in a great mood. As rough and emotionally fraught as it was, we got the project done. We were heroes, and the Sunday dinner at our desk came and went. Joe thanked me in particular for my great attitude. I really appreciate your hard work with a smile during this tough time. That's when I reminded him. Hey, I clocked an extra 61 hours of overtime this week. I'm thrilled I could help. Joe nearly had a stroke and I found myself standing outside, waiting for my boss like 2 minutes later. He was mad, but couldn't say anything because I had asked him if I had to stay, and he explicitly told me that I did. It worked out great for everyone in the long term. Blown budget or not, Joe looked good for getting the project done. The CEO liked my can-do attitude and transferred me into a full-time dream job. And the paycheck? Getting paid Silicon Valley hourly rates for 131.5 hours, but a very nice vacation for my family. Thanks, Joe. I'm available to work all-nighters anytime you want to pay for them. I crunched the numbers, and for 131.5 hours extra in Silicon Valley, the guy made around $11,000. The third story is called Forced to Come to Work. My dad has been working for the same company for about 30 years now. He began working for this company after finishing his associate's degree. He was taking some time off before going back to school, as he and my mom had just gotten married and he needed money. So my dad began working in the printing press room, as he did not have the academic credentials to apply for the job he really wanted at the time. This company printed everything from books to magazines, newspapers and the like. According to my dad, he actually really enjoyed working in the press room. It was a lot of manual labor and he was stuck on second shift, but he really liked his co-workers and he enjoyed learning about the machines they used, as well as how to run and repair them. He always works hard, as did most of his co-workers. But apparently the management at the time was kind of bad. My dad had been working at the job for several months when he got the flu. He was informed by a coworker that while they were able to call out sick, it would count against them when it was time for reviews. It was clearly an unfair and ridiculous rule. So my dad came into work the next day with a fever and nausea. He carried around a trash can with him for most of the day. It was a long and brutal shift, and he was thrilled to finally leave. By the time he left though, everyone on his shift had been exposed to flu, as well as everyone coming in for the next shift. The company ended up having to shut down the printing press for almost a whole week, because nearly every press room worker was sick with the flu. While I'm not sure my dad had planned such a glorious outcome, he was very smug when telling me the story and said he would do it again. My dad went back to school and finished his degree and got a job much higher in the company and now has quite a few people working beneath him. And he never gives his employees a hard time about taking sick days. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like, comment and subscribe. Have a great day. Bye bye.